Hello and welcome to the Southern View. Lots lined up on the show this evening, but first focus on air pollution with Delhi and Mumbai hitting its usual lows in terms of air quality. Often the conversation around air pollution revolves around stubble burning in North Indian cities. But can we breathe easy in the south of India? While stubble burning is not an issue, remember, in the south and air quality may be better than the north, it's way below global standards and often 5 or 6 times worse than WHO prescribed standards in the southern cities as flagged by several reports. Amongst them, Hyderabad has often been flagged as one of the worst in terms of air quality, followed by Bengaluru and then finally Chennai, which of course being on the coastline gets its pollution blown away. The absence of stubble burning is a major boon, and that's because of cropping patterns. Firstly, the absence of an urgency to start cultivating wheat after harvesting the paddy crop in winter season means the stubble is allowed to stay on the field. Secondly, to conserve groundwater, there are timeline restrictions on sowing of paddy crop in the north of India, and that leads to lesser time for turning around for the second crop. This is not an issue in the southern states. Of course, there are other factors as well, but despite the absence of that stubble trouble for the south, vehicular and industrial pollution has been a serious issue. So while we breathe easy compared to the north, the south is choking compared to the rest of the world. To understand what each region can learn from the other, joining us this evening, Gufran Beg, Chair, Professor, NIAS and founder of Safar, G.V. Ramanjanelu, Executive Director, Center for Sustainable Agriculture, R. Subramaniam, Sector Head, Air Quality at C-STEP. My first question to you, Mr. Ramanjanelu, is it's been pointed out even by the late M.S. Swaminathan that you can't just blame the farmers in the north, but there needs to be some action in terms of preventing that stubble burning. Is there a lesson that they can learn from the South Indian concept?
In Andhra Pradesh, in the 70s and 80s, after the Green Revolution, we used to grow 2 seasons of rice. But late 90s, we realized rice after rice is damaging the soils and depleting groundwater levels. So government took actions to promote pulse crops after the rice. So now the entire delta region of Andhra Pradesh have shifted towards pulse crop. And farmers sow pulses in the paddy fields and then harvest the paddy. So they don't even need to remove the stubbles over there. Similar thing is happening in Karnataka, similar thing is happening in Tamil Nadu. So cropping pattern shift is something which is very, very critical. Grains after grains, and that too with a short duration in between, is the major problem in Punjab. So at least government, when it realized that groundwater depletion is happening, blindly delayed the sowings to catch up with the monsoon, but that overlapped with the next season. So the gap between Kharif and Rabi is shortened. So I think the government of Punjab should look at incentivizing farmers shifting from rice or wheat, taking up only one crop. Second crop should be certainly shifted towards pulses or oil seeds. In 90s, when I was in Directorate of Oilseeds Research, we worked on promotion of sunflower in Punjab. And we have seen that farmers were willing to take. But later on, all that vanished away when the oilseed prices went down because of the globalization, cheaper oils coming from outside. And so oilseeds prices went down, so farmers shifted again from oilseeds to wheat and rice. So the rice wheat system has to go, yeah. So incentivizing farmers to make the transition is something which is important. Yeah.
Okay, that's an important point that you make, that incentivizing farmer. But Professor Beg, while in the south of India, often people say that, oh, look, we don't have air quality problems because the comparison is usually to cities like Delhi and Mumbai, which touch 400 AQI. I mean, very poor levels of air quality. There are still serious concerns about the south, given that globally, if you compare ourselves, we are still choking in the southern cities.
In fact, I think this is something which we should be very serious about it. It is a natural advantage which peninsular India has over the northern part of India because of the 2 reasons. Number one is that like Mumbai, Mumbai is now slipping away. So like Mumbai, there are stations which are near the coastal region. Another one is that majority of the stations are in a high altitude station. So their wind are little higher. And that is the reason that because of the natural advantage, southern Indian cities are getting this kind of a thing. But then there is a threshold level for everything. And then when you talk about emissions, we did calculate the emissions. Mumbai, the Bangalore emissions are as high as Mumbai, are little less than Delhi. But then air quality mostly, in Bangalore remains in moderate, and sometimes only it goes to poor and all. Congestion is even much more in Bangalore as compared to other places. Two-wheelers population is much higher. In fact, Asia's highest two-wheeler population is recently, we have a drone-based emission survey shows that it has been done. So now the point here is that natural advantage, 60% of two-wheelers are there in Bangalore, which we didn't find any other cities when we did develop the emission inventories. So, all those things are something which is really like a, sitting emissions are very high. Natural advantage is saving us. The moment this natural advantage goes beyond a threshold level, as it is happening in Mumbai in a recent time for last year, I think there would be a sudden blast of this kind of thing. So that is the reason that we must not take extra advantage of a natural advantage. We must work for the anthropogenic sources.
Right, Professor Subramaniam, that's a very important point. There is a natural advantage. There is no stubble burning, and that's the only reason why southern cities are able to breathe at least a little better than northern cities. So it's not really something you can take pride in.
Right. I mean, so I think there is also the geographic advantage, right? I mean, the emissions from Punjab go up towards the north, towards the Himalayas, are trapped down there and come down, and that adds to the emissions in Delhi. But I mean, I wouldn't say that South India particularly breathes a whole lot better. And like I think one of your Kyrans basically said that the PM 2.5 levels in Bangalore, which is currently at 40 microgram per meter cube on an annual average, is about 7 to 8 times the WHO's safe limit. And a lot of that is because of emissions from traffic, from open waste burning, from resuspended road dust. And, I think with a lot of construction that's happening as well. So all of these cities in the south, I was just in Mumbai last week, and now I'm back in Bangalore. And, there's a lot of urbanization that has taken place over the last 20 years, right? I mean, the population in the cities is growing. Everybody seems to have a car. I personally don't own a car, but the best way of getting around the city seems to be taking a taxi or some other car or auto rickshaw or whatever, which means there's a lot of transportation emissions. So we conducted some emissions inventory in Bangalore recently, which found that about 60 to 70% of the PM 2.5 emitted in Bangalore comes from transportation, right? And so, you add, there may be other emissions from surrounding areas of ammonia and all that, you think about it, and then you have NOx emissions from vehicles as well. So there's a lot of, just a growing dense megapolis like Bangalore or Mumbai basically has a lot of emissions, whether it is from restaurants, vehicles, buses, diesel buses. Apparently, you can't get a diesel car in Mumbai, but CNG is not so widely used in Bangalore because there isn't an infrastructure, right? So there's a lot of diesel emissions as well. So you got to look at all of these existing, pains of a growing city, right? So.
Right. Important points that all three of you make. We only have agricultural patterns and geography and geographical advantage and natural reasons to thank ourselves for the air we breathe. But if you're not careful, it could well go down the way Delhi or Mumbai is. Thank you three for joining us and giving us those thoughts. It's an important issue that we'll keep focus on.